Here's the headline. Gen Z is expected to overtake boomers in the workplace this year, 2024. Some of you are going, wow, Ken, you should probably have a more exciting life if this gets you fired. No, listen to me. I'm going to break this down for you, okay? Whether you are in management or high up the chain in leadership, or you are just, I go in, I work, I'm not leadership at all. This affects everybody in the workplace. I have been saying that the world of work, the way we do work, is going to change dramatically. I don't know if it's for the better. I don't know. And I think anybody that says they know is foolish. But let's break some things down here. This is fascinating. This is a CNBC article that I'm pulling from. What does that mean? Well, when the boomers are, by the way, they are 60 to 78 this year. So the boomer generation is from age 60 to 78 right now. So obviously, many are reaching retirement, and that is just speeding up each year. Now, Gen Zers are aged 12 to 27 right now. So obviously, you cut that in half, roughly, not quite, but you got your 22. So you got the top half of Gen Zers are in the workforce. But again, with each succeeding year, 2025, 2026, I mean, it is, you're seeing the full evaporation, if you will, with each year, more evaporation of the boomers. And now you're seeing more Gen Zers, and employers, leaders, managers are going to have to respond to this because they're very different. And because they're very different, the expectations are different. This is substantive. Now, let's talk about Gen Z. They have a preference that employers show the social impact of the company. They want upward mobility. They are not wired like the boomers who were content. Many of the boomers were content to work basically in the same job for 30, 35 years. They followed in the footsteps of their parents, the greatest generation. I just use my mom as an example. My mom, you're not going to believe this, Alex. I've never told you this. My mom, pastor's wife, she had to go work because my dad made no money at all, pastored a small church, under 100 people. Never made more than $30,000 his whole life, all right? So my mom had to go work. Thank God she did. All right, my mom was a manager of a Lazy Boy, the furniture store. You ready for this? 31 years selling Lazy Boys. That's never going to happen again. My generation, Gen X, we don't do that. More on Gen X. Little fun thing on Gen X coming up in just a minute. Little bonus content that Alex doesn't know about, but I think it's going to be great. Gen Z wants a lot of creativity into their workplace. They want more opportunities to be creative. Remember, they've been designing stuff and making videos on smartphones. They're extremely creative. That has been stimulated for them since they were toddlers. Roblox. You've heard of this game? I mean, listen, it's a great app and game for your kids because it's creative. Anyway, you get my point. Gen Z values a flat organization. Now, that's business speak. Let me dumb that down. What that means is they don't like hierarchy. They're not impressed with a leadership structure and, well, I report to you. No, they want a voice. They've been told they're special, so they believe it. They want a voice. They want their perspective to be heard. And they want politics at the office. They like talking politics. Woo! Boy, do they like talking politics. They want to see their politics reflected in the company. That's going to be a really harsh struggle. And they hold their leadership, they try to hold their leadership accountable to saying what they want to say. I think that's going to be a real problem. That'll hurt. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. They value flexibility as much as they value upward mobility. They want work-life balance. They think flexibility and work-life balance is more valuable than job security. They will leave you. It's pretty fascinating. 73% of Gen Zers are willing to quit their jobs if their manager doesn't provide flexibility and development opportunities. They want flexibility. They want upward mobility. They also prefer, this is interesting, working in public places like coffee shops. They're more willing to work in the office than millennials and even Gen Xers because they crave companionship. They crave face-to-face communication. And so that's going to affect the way that offices are structured. Workplaces, I think you're going to see workplaces of the future feel like coffee shops. No cubes, just come in, pop down. Like imagine a library being converted into a coffee shop, and instead of it being super quiet, there's a natural buzz going on. I think that's going to be a real trend. I think you're going to see that because they don't want to be forced to come in, but they want to be around people. That's very fascinating. And so here's my, again, challenge to leaders. I think this generation is going to do amazing things. I'm not going to crap on Gen Z. I'm raising 3 of them. I think they're freaking awesome. They do have different expectations, and I will say this. They have the makings to be an unbelievable force for good because they care deeply about meaningful results. That's good. Channeled properly and led properly, they could change the world for the good. They really can. Now, I see all these things, by the way, Alex. I saw this funny thing, and I got to just say this real quick. This is bonus content because what I don't like is the tension between the generations, right? And it's always there. But I am changing my tone on this stuff because I want to set what I think is the right expectation for how we communicate about generations because there's duds in every generation. But I think when we do this kind of stuff, like I saw a viral video and I didn't send it to you in time, but a kid's on TikTok going, everybody's always reporting the news. They're banging on Gen Z, and he's Gen Z, and millennials. He goes, you know who gets off the hook? Gen X. And apparently some Gen Xers have come in there and been like, okay. And they're responding to this kid. And it's really funny. But here's a couple things about Gen X and Gen X leaders. Okay, they're following boomers, so Gen X is next. And boomers age 60 to 78 are aging out. So guess what? That means my generation, we're going to be the seniors, the senior, level. I mean, we've been around longer, and we got to understand how we're wired differently. And Gen Z needs to figure this out too. Let me tell you what Gen X grew up with. You ready? Couple highlights I wrote down. We fought people in person, not online. There wasn't a comment section to lob an insult. You know what we did? We met in the backyard or in the alley and we punched each other. There was no insults. You fought people. We had toys with lead in them. We were sucking on cribs that had lead in the rail. We weren't gluten allergic. We weren't allergic to gluten. We ate lead. By the way, my generation, we didn't have a 12-point harness car seat. We sat in the front seat, and that means your parents had to drive better because if they slammed on the brakes, they also punched you in the throat trying to keep you from going into a metal dashboard. Boomers, millennials, Gen X. Yeah, I see the picture. Are you ready for this? If we wanted to play with our friends, Alex, you ready? We went outside and played with them. There wasn't we're going to get online and play Fortnite with our friends. You know what you did? You grabbed a wiffle ball bat and a wiffle ball, and you went outside and you tried to hurt each other in a wiffle ball game. Listen, Gen X, we weren't worried about hurting each other's feelings. We were trying to hurt our friends physically. It's a different world now. Let me tell you something else. When we wanted to watch something and we weren't home, guess what we had to do? We had to figure out how to record it on a VCR. And God forbid you had to leave in the middle of the movie because you know what you had to do then? Remember where you left off. And one more. We had dial-up internet when I was in college, not even as a kid. You know what that meant? If you were at home on the internet and your mom picked up the phone to call her friend, you got kicked off the internet. Gen X, it's time for you to step up and lead. Very different generation with Gen Z. And all of this is converging. And it's going to be chaos in the workplace if we don't begin to understand how they're wired, how they're coming in. And I'm having a little bit of fun at my generation, right? But we can collaborate. The best of each generation together means a great workforce. So there you go. I'm positive about it. I don't think it has to be a crisis.